For almost 3 years, Cyberpunk 2077 has had a massive unresolved mystery. I'm talking, of course, about these bizarre statues littered about Night City, some of which display the code FF06B5, which just so happens to correspond to the HTML color code for magenta. This inclusion has for years spawned some major conspiracies, which range from pointing to secret rooms, specific locations, or just generally having an underlying but unknown meaning for us to decipher. Devs such as Pavel Sasko himself have been questioned about it multiple times, and the FF06B5 subreddit of over 21,000 members are constantly cooking up wild and wacky new theories. So, no doubt, in order to keep our conspiracy gears turning, the new update to Cyberpunk 2077 features a somewhat hidden, but as you'll see when you find it, absolutely massive development to everything FF06B5 related. For the first time ever, I actually feel on the cusp of a solution to Cyberpunk's oldest mystery, and maybe by watching this video and following along, you'll be able to figure out the next steps to finally put this HTML color to bed once and for all. Though don't be surprised if this actually strings out for another 3 years. Now, there's some major developments to break down, so put on your tinfoil hats and let's get to it. So first up, we need to head down to the Biotechnica farms. And look, for anyone wanting to find this themselves, I don't want to take that away from you. So before giving away anything, now's your chance to bookmark the video, head down to where we used to be able to buy the Quadra Javelina, and come back once you've done your own digging around and forged your own interpretations of this. Now's your chance. Go. Still here? Come back? Good. Let's continue. This church building is where we come with Jackie in the Nomad prologue, parking up in the garage beside. In 1.6, the church itself couldn't be entered and looked completely unassuming, with nothing but a few pews as you'd expect. In Update 2.0, however, oh boy. So, heading inside, this place now resembles some sort of techie hideout, with multiple server-type boxes across the back wall and a laptop bizarrely positioned in the middle, kind of like a lectern. Just inside the door are also piles of books resembling either a car boot sale or perhaps somebody scouring for information despite not knowing what they're looking for. Reading the laptop then, there are 5 notes, each more groundbreakingly crazy than the last. They're not too long, so I'm going to give them all a read, as it'll back up the context for the rest of the video. Turns out this place appears to have once been inhabited by somebody named Polyhister, another word for polymath, i.e. somebody exceptionally gifted in multiple fields. Sir Isaac Newton is a famous example. This Polyhister though, well, it seems they've dedicated the full extent of their immense and wildly varying talents to unrivaling the mysteries of FF06B5, if the state of the shack is anything to go by. And much like real life, Cyberpunk 2077 now appears to have its own team of dedicated sleuths, equally enamored with the FF06B5 mystery. The first of which is Teddy Bella, using spectroscopic analysis to try and find more clues. Her email to Polyhister reads, quote, "Just reviewed the spectroscopic data you sent. Some anomalies, yeah, but nothing to tickle your testes over. Not yet, anyway. Might just be poorly calibrated equipment. Kabuki tech wizards strike again. In any case, gonna run the analysis on a different set of parameters. The bacteriophage theory is a pretty damn sexy one, gotta say, but I don't want to warp the facts just to fit what we think we're looking for. I'll send you a crosstab with the results. Take a look when you get the chance. Maybe you can squeeze more juice out of this than I can." End quote. Note the mention of tech wizards in there, because it may have more relevance to come. Also, not warping the facts to suit a particular agenda is something I'm sure anyone who's pondered this mystery can relate to all too well. Kind of a funny poke at us, in a way. The second email then mentions the monks. You know, the ones praying by the statue in city centre, which IRL theorists have gone utterly crazy over, in a similar way here to Celestial69, funny, who says, quote, "Wondering what our monk tombs are up to? Zilch. That is to say, the same shit as usual. Pace back and forth under that statue. Meditate, mumble something, meditate some more. In general, go about their monk business. We ain't gonna learn jack this way. I'm about to start pushing them for answers. Literally, if need be. You know, who are you? Who am I? Why are we all here? What the fuck is this all about?" But I will say, I've found a silver lining in this massive waste of time. Unlike those monks, we're free to get as shit-faced as we please. So, what do you say? Wanna hit the city? I need to let off some steam, and it'll do you good to get out of that dusty-ass shack. We're in this together, aren't we? Maybe a beer or 5 is all we need for a breakthrough, to start asking ourselves the right questions. For instance, what the fuck is the difference between magenta and fuchsia anyway? End quote. Now, let me tell you the difference between magenta and fuchsia. The HTML code for magenta, as we all know, is FF06B5, so it stood to reason that I should also check the code for fuchsia, which just so happens to be FF77FF. Coincidence? Who the bloody hell knows? Honestly, compared to what's coming up, I kind of saw these emails as red herrings, though there's obviously some correlation there to the title Cyberpunk 2077, so worth noting. Final of the 3 emails then is titled It's Really Happening, and comes from another theorist who I believe is called Tyromancer, though the M has been constructed with a series of dashes. Now, Tyromancer is Polish for Tyromancer, which again sounds just one letter away from a fire wizard, though actually it's the term for someone who performs magical divination by studying the coagulation of cheese. Kinda like reading tea leaves, but instead reading strains of mold. In fact, there's an entire quest in The Witcher 3 where we navigate the cheese fume-infested lair of one of these so-called Tyromancers. Relevant? Well, I played back through that quest again, searching for clues, but nothing of note I could find. So, Tyromancer's email reads, quote, I have it, polyhister. I'm not wrong this time, I just need more time to understand. First things first, you probably think I've finally lost my mind. Maybe. In truth, I began to doubt whether the answer we were looking for could ever be found. What if we sought meaning when none existed? But I know now that we were right. To find the correct path forward, I had to first leave the wrong one I was already following. That's when I found it. I'll be honest, I slipped into a dark pit of apathy and despair. I left the net to seek solace in a world of fleeting physical pleasures. I needed to feel something, anything. As I wandered Night City, I found an old arcade, vintage games. I'd forgotten such places existed, even though in a previous life, they used to be my home away from home. That's where I saw it. A sign. FF06B5. A pixel hidden in code over 60 years old. Do you understand what this means? The path we must follow goes much further and much, much deeper than we could have imagined. From this point on, none of us are safe. They know the secret is out. This will be my last message. I'm leaving, taking nothing with me but my laptop. You have to discover for yourself what I have. I told you once about a game that changed my life. Think back and remember it, because that same game has changed my life a second time. And now, it will change yours. End quote. Man, there's a lot to unpack there. A pixel hidden in code over 60 years old? They're all clues to break down. But first, we're going to have to look carefully at the files too, as well as, most importantly, the old arcade game which Tyromancer is referring to. Now, again, if you want to pause the video and try to unravel some of this yourself, then please do so. But now, moving into files, the first one, which I'm still yet to make sense of, titled copy_magenta.hxf.log, is seemingly some kind of sequencing program which runs in multiple stages lasting varying lengths of time, but ultimately comes up with no results found. Maybe it's pointing us away from the magenta direction of things? That'd line up with Tyromancer's point of leaving the path they were on, but truly it's not entirely clear. And honestly, that's another clue that feels like a red herring of sorts compared to the main feature here. Finally then, a personal note from Polyhister, titled A New Beginning, and reading, quote, I almost laugh when I think of all the time wasted on those sad, conjured up theories of mine. I felt genuine relief when I purged my previous notes. The gibberish of a self-proclaimed genius turned fool. Embarrassing. It was Tyromancer who lifted the veil of secrecy, the first of us with such a breakthrough. I couldn't believe it until I saw it myself, a long-forgotten, archaic game, and within it, not an answer, but a clue. The keyhole we must find is in a door that we took for a wall. For the time being, I've cut off all network connections to the mainframe and programmed it to accept 8 data points. It's time to break the news to my brothers and sisters in Night City, face to face. I owe them that. Besides, Tyromancer was right. Our email correspondence put us all at too much risk. End quote. Honestly, at this point, my head had fucking exploded. 2.5 years of theories, and I felt like the door to this whole thing had just been blown wide open. So much in there. With the line, the keyhole we must find is in a door that we took for a wall, literally rolling around in my head as I try to sleep now. Also, the end of that email almost alludes to a real and present in-world danger that comes when investigating the mystery of the statues, immediately suggesting again that this runs freaking deep, and anyone who tries to figure out what it means winds up getting silenced. Backing out of the computer then, and immediately on the right is the craziest next part to all of this, the arcade game that Tyromancer was talking about. Now, this isn't the first playable arcade game in Cyberpunk. We already have the Chrome Dinosaur reskin that is Roach Race, and Phantom Liberty also includes the new Trauma Drama, something they mentioned in the new content breakdown they sent me with my review copy, but they never mentioned in there the existence of this arcade game. Arasaka Tower 3D is, in its own right, a really fun minigame, and reminds me somewhat of GoldenEye, with you playing as Johnny Silverhand, shooting your way through 5 levels of Arasaka Tower to escape it before the bomb goes off. The complete opposite of what happened in canon, I know, but that's neither really here nor there. Of course, the actual fun elements of this game are secondary to the looking for clues regarding FF06B5, and in the end, the skill aspect of this game kind of boils down to playing it on repeat until you know where the enemies are going to be, so you don't get caught off guard. Now, heading in, just remember that one quote from Polyhista, not an answer, but a clue. The keyhole we must find is in a door that we took for a wall. End quote. Now again, if you want to try solve this thing yourself first, then pause the video and come back after. But now, here's a quick run of every hidden secret I found in Arasaka Tower 3D, going floor by floor. First we have floor 1, or floor 5, or rather floor 20, I suppose, as it says here, because the elevator descends multiple floors at once. But essentially, there's 5 different levels. So, floor 5 is smaller than the rest, but walking at this wall in the one side room will reveal a hidden chamber containing Johnny's aviators, which serve as a bonus depletable armor of sorts, so actually a useful thing to have when you're playing. Floor 2 has a similar chamber, also with aviators, behind a wall in the second to last room. Now, floor 3 then is where it all seems to be happening, with 4 points of particular interest. First, in the center of the main room is a squared off wooden wall area, which you can get inside again via a secret panel for health packs and aviators. This also opens up, though, a wall at the back of floor 3 in a room behind where we access the elevator, revealing an extra med pack. But, and this is the big Easter egg, down one of the 2 sets of winding passageways you'll take on this floor is just one of many server rooms you can find, with magenta-ish coloured pillars and an FF06B5 statue, with that famous central insignia we keep seeing, displayed this time in a shade of pink. You can't interact with it, but take note of this string of numbers also in the room, 940204. It is very relevant, because back in the room behind the elevator, only after finding the statue, another wall will lift up, displaying again that same number, 940204. Not only that, but there's also a second server room on this floor with no statue, but instead the number 941229, which also has some relevance once we complete the game. Now, presumably the statue is what Tyromancer found, as mentioned in their email, but there is a big caveat to that, since Tyromancer said a pixel hidden in code, over 60 years old. But that would pit it sometime in or before 2017. Whilst the assaults on Arasaka Tower, upon which the minigame is based, didn't take place until 2023, either meaning Tyromancer was referring to a different arcade game, not this one, or more likely, they're simply stating that whilst this game isn't that old, the statues and the mystery predate 60 years ago. Now, onto the second floor, with another hidden room of aviators relatively near the start this time. And finally the first floor, wherein we defeat Adam Smasher and escape before the time runs out. I couldn't find any secret rooms on this one, but take a look at the scoreboard after we win. Do you see that? You have us at the bottom on Polyhista's accounts with the score FF06B5. Though the bizarre thing here is that the game didn't seem to be keeping any kind of score. Though in spite of that, we have 4 other names listed. Blackhand is no doubt Morgan Blackhand, who has the score 941229, corresponding to the second number we found in the statueless server room. Just below him then is is Murphy, presumably Spider Murphy, and take a look at her score, 940204, the same number we find in the room with the statue, and which opens up the extra chamber displaying the number again, leading me then to assume that the solution we're looking for to the statue and FF06B5 has something to do with Spider Murphy and possibly Morgan Blackhand. Incidentally, both members of the strike units which assaulted Arasaka Tower with Johnny Silverhand in 2023, and it defo feels like this would have been the perfectly fitting game for Spider Murphy herself to leave these clues behind in. Remember, the keyhole we must find is in a door that we took for a wall, and whilst there's several doors matching that description in the game, the only one tied directly to the statue is the one which unveils this number, Spider Murphy's score, which would then make that door the keyhole, with the key in question being the statue itself. So, all things point to 940204. But we do have two other names in the scoreboard, though I can't quite figure out who they're referring to. Rogue, Shaitan, Alt, none of them fit the initials here, nor do these two seem to have their scores displayed on the walls of the game, like Blackhand and Murphy, so who knows what they're about. Now, it's at this point I keep running into dead ends, with plenty of ways I feel we can go from here, but none yielding further results just yet. Hopefully though, by bringing this to light now for all of you tunes, we can possibly discover more. I think one thing this does definitively confirm is that Spider Murphy is somehow behind, or at least related, to FF06B5, except now I'm instead left asking the meaning of 940204 and possibly 941229 as well. So now, let's quit out of the arcade and take a look at some extra things I've noticed which could also be relevant to this. First up, how does this connect to The Witcher 3? The name Tyromancer is surely no coincidence, and whilst the quest to obtain the Emmentaler doesn't seem to crop up anything relating to this, we do have an FF06B5 reference in that game, that being the Tower of Unkillable Wraiths and the magenta-coloured mural therein, displaying, in addition to the classic circuitry kind of mural, 8 sets of letters. Additionally, in their message, Polyhista mentioned setting up 8 data points, and I feel like that's got to be these 8 blocks of machinery at the back of the room. Now, taking a closer look at each, they do appear to have some sort of slots in the middle, making me question if we can place anything inside. Perhaps the 8 sets of letters on the Witcher mural could tell us where to find these 8 things in Cyberpunk 2077, though if I'm being honest, that's very much a stretch of a theory. And what I don't want to do, just like in the emails, is warp the facts just to confirm what we think we're looking for. So let's focus back. The main takeaway from this is 940204 and Spider Murphy, by all accounts. Running that number through HTML, since it's another 6-digit code, comes up with a sort of deep crimson. Could be something, maybe, though another idea is that it could be a code to open a door. After all, many of the terminals in this game do take 6-digit access codes, and it makes me wonder if there's now a door somewhere which opens to this one. But after looking around all of the statues again, mapping their convergent points, and replaying Johnny's actual tower escape flashback, I've come up with exactly nothing more. Zilch. And I'm hoping you guys could help with that. This new set of clues has definitely answered more questions than ever before, and all clues now point to Spider Murphy. Makes sense, I suppose, that one of the greatest netrunners from the lore is at least partly behind something like this. I feel like, yes, a huge part of the question has been answered now, but also it's just been replaced with yet more questions. And now, not only do we have to find the meaning behind FF06B5, but also 940204. Though I wouldn't be too surprised if there isn't one yet. It's definitely worth entertaining the idea that CDPR are going to keep stringing this thing out. The Witcher 3 update provided one new breadcrumb, whilst Update 2.0 has provided more of an entire slice of bread. And perhaps 940204 is a new thing which won't be solvable until The Witcher Polaris or even Cyberpunk Orion. After all, keeping this mystery going is what keeps it intriguing, and I feel like no definitive solution could ever live up to the wacky theories that we've all conjured up in our heads. But as a closing thought, perhaps the solution simply just is that it was Spider Murphy, and all we had to do was piece that number together with her name in the high scores. Granted, that doesn't expand much with its explanation, but being able to say that Spider Murphy was behind FF06B5 is an ending of sorts, though maybe not the one as deep as we were all hoping for. And to contest this point by quoting Tyra Manta one more time, the path we must follow goes much further and much, much deeper than we could have imagined. From this point on, none of us are safe. They know the secret is out. End quote. So yeah, make of that what you will. That's all the findings and theories I've got thus far. Comment below your thoughts on this, and please share if you turn up anything else. Phantom Liberty and Update 2.0 are both an absolute blast, but the second I discovered this, I just couldn't put it down until I'd rinsed every single potential clue. I had hoped to fully solve it before making this video, but then again, maybe you're not supposed to. So there we go. As always, massive thanks to my amazing patrons for going the extra mile in supporting the channel. And to anyone else interested, you can donate from as little as £1 a month for early access to most of my videos and your name in every single one. Thank you again so much for watching, and hopefully in time we'll solve this mystery together. I'm Bram, and I'll see you very soon in another video.